Today we're looking at Viltrox's new Pro Series lens, the 56mm f1.2. This is a weather seal lens for APS-C and Super 35 shooters who's looking for reliable gear built to handle the elements and demanding production environments, while also delivering a nice looking image and great ergonomics at a pretty reasonable price. I've tested it on my Sony FX30, which also happens to be weather sealed, to see how it would hold up in some light rain and among dirt and debris and other things you find outside. Now, apart from Sony E-mount, it's also available for Nikon Z and Fujifilm X-mount. So hey everyone, and sorry for putting this video up a bit later than everyone else. My copy actually arrived a bit later. If you know me, I usually like to put the gear through some actual use before I sit down and tell you guys what I think about it. So that's what I've been doing these 2 days, yesterday and today. And well, in this video I will be sharing my thoughts, mostly when it comes to video use, but there will be a couple of stills as well here. So if you're a still shooter, there might be enough for you to stick around anyway. Now, this here is actually the first Pro Series lens that I've tried or used from Viltrox, and after using this now for the grand total of 2 days, I can still say that I actually understand why some people really hype up the other ones, the 27 and the 75mm f1.2. It is a pretty tasty lens. So this is what it looks like. It's definitely a bit of a chonker. The body is made out of forged aluminum alloy. We got gaskets and we got seals everywhere, including here on the mount, which is nice and red, which I like. It kind of screams weather seal. We got this smooth focus ring, an aperture ring here as well. Now it's declicked, which is great for video work, and we can put it back in its click mode. Car passing by at the same time. Great. Now, apart from these things, we also got a little customizable function button over here. And another thing that I really like and miss, call me old school, but I do appreciate an AF/MF switch. There's no optical image stabilization in this lens, but there's one little detail that might make you think there's actually some stabilization. Listen to this. There's things moving around inside the lens, perfectly normal, by the way. I've checked with Viltrox. Now, on this side here, on the front, we have a 67mm filter thread, and if we flip it around like this, we got that little nice mount gasket, we got a metal mount, and we have our USB-C port here for lens firmware updates. On cameras like the Sony FX30, the size and the weight actually works pretty great, adding a bit of weight to your rig to kind of reduce those micro jitters. The size also makes it more comfortable, in my opinion, when it comes to things like manual focus racking, which is something you normally do quite a lot if you're a videographer. So given the size, given the weight, which is just over 500 grams, I'd say for a Pro Series lens and being f1.2, which is another amazing clutch both for subject separation but for low light shooters as well, I'd say they've done a pretty good job. This is from someone who's been working with the 1835 for, I don't know, 6-7 years or something, and that lens is like 810 grams. So 545-ish grams, it's a featherweight in comparison. As far as image quality, I've not actually seen any signs of chromatic aberration or other weird optical issues. It's surprisingly sharp at f1.2, at least in real-world use, but it sharpens up when you slow it down a bit, which is usually the case, especially with these ultra-fast primes. If we take a quick look at these shards, which I shot some of them handheld, there's a tiny bit of fall-off towards the edges wide open, which is, again, pretty standard for a portrait lens. A 56mm f1.2 will give you a very similar look to a full-frame 85mm f1.8, including the amount of subject separation and bokeh, that sort of stuff. Pretty much the same, right? Maybe there's even more bokeh on the 56mm, which isn't a bad thing. we've got 11 rounded aperture blades that does a pretty good job of keeping everything looking pretty nice, smooth and creamy. I have noticed a subtle kind of swirliness to the bokeh in some of these shots, which I wouldn't say is distracting or anything, at least not in my world, and the rest of the bokeh looks nice and smooth across the entire frame. The minimum focus distance is 57 centimeters. It's not the closest minimum focus I've seen, but it's not the longest either. In most cases, I'd say it will allow you to get your inserts, your close-ups. It's not going to be able to compete with a macro lens or anything, but an average minimum focus distance. Now, let's take a look at autofocus performance. So it seems to be doing a pretty good job here with both face and eye tracking. It's nice and sticky, and the racks are looking nice and smooth. Side note here, by the way, I do have my autofocus speed dialed down quite a bit. I prefer a bit slower racks. I find it more pleasing, more human looking, that sort of stuff. And a few of these shots were done on the old FX30 2.0 firmware, but I did a few after updating to the 6.0 where the autofocus is much better. So I would say in terms of autofocus performance, the 56mm f1.2 is pretty solid. As far as focus breathing goes, maybe there's actually a tiny bit more focus breathing on this lens than what I've seen on other Viltrox lenses in the past. Maybe, just maybe, there's a tiny bit of focus breathing, but I would say it's a very small amount. And Viltrox in general usually does a pretty good job when it comes to focus breathing, which is one of the reasons why I prefer to use a lot of their lenses for video work. If it's one thing that we could be a bit nitpicky about, I would have liked to see a better grip or a better texture here on the focus ring itself. This absolutely works and all that, and I've not slipped or anything, but I mean, you know, giving it a bit more of a tactile surface might have been a good idea. And speaking of complaints, if you thought you'd be able to get away with this lens for $550 and use it on your full frame camera, there's another set of bad news. This is the coverage on a full frame sensor, so definitely an APS-C lens. Lenses like this Pro series didn't exist for APS-C cameras back in the day, and they're actually still pretty hard to find if you want high quality, robust optics for APS-C that actually can handle a real production environment and deal with the elements and all that hideous stuff, unless you wanted to buy into professional full flame glass. So if you're a professional shooting on APS-C or Super 35, or maybe if you're a hobbyist that often finds yourself out in the elements, whether it's snow, rain, dust or debris, lenses like this are few and far between. So I think it's going to be a great series now, especially with the 56mm in place here, and I'm super eager to try the 27mm and the 75mm as well. I mean, the image looks great. We're getting nice shallow depth of field and a welcome little bump in low light environments with that f1.2 aperture. It's on the heavier side, which might be a deal breaker for those not interested in what actually comes with those extra couple of grams. So it might not be for everyone, but everyone who's looking for a robustly built lens for APS-C, especially an f1.2 aperture, I mean, this here is a crazy good deal. So if you want to pick one of these up, I'll leave a couple of links down below, including a link directly to Viltrox web store where you can get a nice little discount with this coupon code right here. And you'll be supporting a small little channel like mine instead of supporting the big companies only. So thank you for that, or at least thank you for considering using those links if you want to go ahead and pick one of these up. And I will put links down to the 27 and the 75mm as well. But I think that's going to be it. So thank you so much for watching. Glad you could make it, even if it took a couple of extra days. Now, with that said, I want to thank Viltrox for sending this out. I want to thank you for stopping by and tell you all a goodbyes.